Hello, I'm Lauren Denyer, wine educator at WSET School London, and I'm going to be talking about the red wines of northern Spain. So we're going to be looking primarily at Castilla y León, so that will include Ribera de Duero, Toro, Bierzo, and we're also going to look at Rioja. So where we are positioned in Spain, Spain has an incredibly diverse topography and climate, but where we are in particular is quite continental. We'll find that we do have some Atlantic influence and in some cases some mild Mediterranean influence, but the continentality of where we are does mean that these regions can have very hot summers and very cold winters. So some of the challenges you might find around that are potentially drought during the summer months and sometimes some spring frosts. So those are the key challenges that we face in these particular regions in northern Spain. So we're going to be looking at the black grape varieties that are grown in northern Spain. So there are a lot of native varieties, so varieties that come specifically from Spain, and there are a couple of international varieties as well that are also grown in the regions. Tempranillo is by far the most important grape variety that is grown in Spain. It is the most planted grape variety and it's used to make a really wide style of wines. Generally speaking, we can say that Tempranillo has medium acidity. However, if you grow it at higher altitudes where you've got diurnal range, you can help to retain acidity in Tempranillo. It's used to make varietal wines. It's also used in a lot of blends. So a really important grape variety. It can be used to make very, very aged, really important and prestigious wines, but also can make wines go through semi-carbonic maceration and these joven style wines that are very easy drinking. Garnacha, an incredibly important grape variety as well in Spain, and it's known to grow really well in hotter climates because it is quite drought tolerant. It does gain quite a lot of alcohol, so a lot of sugar, so therefore a lot of alcohol in the wines that you make. So you can typically find Garnacha wines at around that 14–15% alcohol mark. It's also blended in many key regions, Rioja being one of them. So we'll have a look and explore the styles of wines that you can make with Garnacha when we look at Rioja. We've also got Cariñena, but also called Mazuelo in Rioja, otherwise known as Carignan in France. This has particularly dark, deep, thick skins, so will give a lot of depth of colour, has good acidity and high tannins as well. So it's used generally as a blending component to make more wines with more longevity. Graciano is a grape variety found primarily in Rioja. It is more difficult to grow. It grows better in better years, so more yields better in better years, and then it's used very much as a blending component for the wines that again are meant for long aging. It gives high levels of acidity, tannins, herbal and floral notes. It's a very important variety for the more prestigious wines of Rioja. Mencía is grown in Bierzo. We'll have a look at where that is in just a moment. It's a grape variety that can give you fairly high acidity, so medium plus to high acidity. The tannins aren't usually so high and it gives you red fruit and some herbal notes. Again, you can make more complex or more simple examples, and there can be some examples with some semi-carbonic maceration as well. Other varieties that we'll find in the regions and are permitted in some of these regions are Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. Cabernet Sauvignon is grown in places like Ribera de Duero, where it can be part of a blending component, and Merlot is also grown in many of these regions as well. But these usually are secondary varieties to add a bit to a blend and increase complexity in some cases. So Rioja is one of two DOCAs in Spain. It is split into three sub-zones or sub-regions. We have further south to the east, the Rioja Oriental, formerly known as Rioja Baja, but now much better known as Rioja Oriental. And then as we go further north and over to the west, we have the Rioja Alta, and then we have the Rioja Alavesa, which is just in the neighbouring Basque Country. So what you'll find in the regions, there is slight difference in temperature. The Rioja Oriental tends to be a bit warmer. It's a little bit closer to the Mediterranean, so has a touch more of a Mediterranean and slightly more continental climate. And then the Rioja Alta and the Alavesa tend to be a little bit cooler, and they're generally at a higher altitude. So we are going to from around sort of 500 to 800 metres in general, and most of that elevation found in the Alta and the Alavesa. Because the Alta and the Alavesa are a little bit cooler, it benefits to grow Tempranillo there, because Tempranillo, with the acidity that it can be lost in warmer climates, will retain more acidity in the Alta and Alavesa, and that means you can make more complex wines with it. Rioja Oriental is a warmer part of Rioja, and so therefore Garnacha thrives well there and can be grown in many, many parts of the Rioja Oriental. You can blend across the regions, so if you do want to make a wine with more Garnacha, more Tempranillo, you can go to particular regions to do that, but also you can find wines that come from those particular subzones as well, if you want to find something that maybe reflects the place in that respect. Rioja has always been known for the use of oak and maturation in its winemaking. So we have regulations and classifications for Rioja wines that have traditionally been very important. So we have sort of a bit like a pyramid classification system where we have wines that are young, youthful, which don't require any aging. And these you'll see on the back of the bottles of wines for this, and I'm talking specifically for red wines really, you're going to see the green label. The term we use for that label on those wines is generico, so generic if you like. Although not all of the wines that you'll find in that category we would really refer to as generic. It's just this is a labelling term where you can have wines that don't have any regulations and requirements around aging. So often they will be young, very fruity wines which could have seen some semi-carbonic maceration. Following generico, we have some aging in oak requirements, and these follow the labelling terms of Crianza, Reserva and Gran Reserva. For a Crianza red wine in Spain, the aging requirement is 6 months in oak and 2 years overall aging. For a Reserva wine, it's 1 year in oak and 3 years overall aging. And for a Gran Reserva wine, it's 18 months in oak and 5 years overall aging. For Rioja in particular, the aging requirements are slightly longer in oak for Crianza and Gran Reserva. So we have a couple of bottles of here, so you can see this is a Reserva. So in Rioja you will see this sort of deeper red colour on the label. And then for a Gran Reserva, we have a blue label. Now the style of a Crianza is generally more easy drinking with a bit of oak influence. So we'll see grape varieties like Tempranillo and Garnacha primarily as a blend for a Crianza wine. This will be easy drinking and will have a little hints of vanilla, just some touches of oak there. For a Reserva wine, we're getting a bit more serious now. These are wines that do require longer aging, and the aging requirements I've given you are the minimum aging requirements. So this could be far longer in barrel and in bottle. So a Reserva wine, we're going to start to see more tertiary development, more obvious oak, and we're going to see more structure in the wine. So things like higher acid and higher tannins. For Gran Reserva, we're going to see even more of that. So we're going to have more tannic structure. So we'll be thinking about grape varieties such as more Graciano in the blend, maybe more Massuelo in the blend. And we probably won't have so much in the way of Garnacha at this point, because we want wines with higher tannins, wines with high acid, because these are meant to age for a considerably long period of time. The kind of oak that is used for these wines will be either French or American oak. Rioja has a tradition of using American oak, and you will get from wines with more American oak more overt sort of sweet vanilla notes, dill and coconut. However, French oak has been used more and more in the more recent decades as that has become more of a trend, and so you'll see that some producers may use just American oak, some producers may use just French oak, and some producers might use some French and some American oak. So Within Castilla y León, there are three very important red wine regions. They are Ribera de Duero, Toro and Bierzo. So in Ribera de Duero and Toro, Tempranillo is the main grape variety. Ribera de Duero grows primarily Tempranillo grapes, although they can be blended with Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot and some other native grapes. Ribera de Duero produces a lot of wines of very high quality. They also use classification systems like in Rioja with Crianza, Reserva, Gran Reserva. Ribera de Duero is very, very continental, so it does get extremely hot summers and extremely cold winters, but it is at quite a high elevation, so it's great for Tempranillo because it does mean that you get a very wide diurnal range there, so the nighttime temperature is quite a lot cooler than the daytime temperature. This means that you can retain acidity really well. The type of Tempranillo that's grown there has over time become quite small as well with thick skins, so you can get wines with high tannins, high acid, and that can age really, really well. So Ribera de Duero is regarded as quite a prestigious region in Spain for its wines. Neighbouring Toro, it benefits also from some of the factors that you get in Ribera de Duero, but it's not at such high elevation. The wines from Toro are known to be very powerful, they are quite alcoholic, but again, Tempranillo is the main grape variety. But like with Ribera de Duero, they are permitted to blend in some international varieties there too. In Bierzo, the main grape variety is Mencía. So Mencía displays mostly red fruit characteristics such as red cherry, red currant, and has a herbaceous quality as well, so black currant leaf. You can make complex wines or more simple wines with Mencía. So Mencía can produce wines with some oak aging, and the acidity can be medium plus to high. So you can get wines that can be aged for a period of time, particularly if the tannins are a little bit higher, but generally you will get sort of more medium tannins from Mencía. You can also make very simple wines using some semi-carbonic maceration, and there you're just emphasising the fruitiness, and these wines will give you less in the way of tannins. So now a question. So this question here is a factual recall knowledge question. So you simply need to know the information from the materials and put that in your answer. So this question, which sub-region of Rioja typically produces the best garnacha? It's only 1 mark, so you only just need to give a very straightforward, simple answer. And of course, the answer to this question is Rioja Oriental. Thanks for watching.